Oh, Dark Souls 2. Now, I'm going to begin saying in this video, this is not going to be one of those videos that says, oh, Dark Souls 2 was actually the greatest Dark Souls games of all time. It's actually the greatest game of all time, honestly. You should just play this game and then quit gaming after that because you'll never top Dark Souls 2. It's not one of those videos. I know there are many videos like that out there, guys, but this is not one of them. All right, Dark Souls 2 though um was the best game of 2014 in my opinion. That's not saying much because there wasn't a lot of games in 2014, but I still don't think it was an amazing Dark Souls game. I think it was the bare minimum of what it needed to be. Being produced by the B team, not Miyazaki, not the head of FromSoft. They were working on Bloodborne. But it still was good that they did what they did with the B team and that it was still the best game of 2014. So, really quickly, I'm just going to play a short clip here of some of the magic Dark Souls 2 had. All right. And you'll be able to hear the music. Alright, so Majula, I'm sure a lot of you remember Majula. Great starting point, great hub, great music, great graphics, the sun shining on the water. You had that woman there talking to you. Majula was a great area. It was a magical spot of the game. I thought Majula was better than Dark Souls 1 hub um, in that stone area. I thought it was a better hub than what Dark Souls 3 had. I thought it was a better hub than what Bloodborne had. So Dark Souls 2 did things right. But getting into what this video is, why it's the best game of 2014, I'm going to quickly go through some games of 2014. And by the end of this video, I'll say, yeah, why Dark Souls 2 beats each one. So let's start off with the obvious. You had the blockbuster, the amazing, the unforgettable Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare. You all probably remember Advanced Warfare if you're older than 9 years old. Advanced Warfare was trash. They had the advanced movement system where you can thrust everywhere, and it was just a bad game. Dark Souls 2 beats it easily. Next game, Titanfall. Titanfall, it was a precursor to what the gold standard Titanfall 2 would be, because Titanfall 2 still to this day I think had one of the best multiplayers ever, and that transitioned into Apex Legends. But Titanfall 1, the only downfall, or one of the main downfalls with Titanfall 1, is it had no campaign, and the multiplayer was filled with bots. So it didn't feel challenging or rewarding when you had 40 kills and 95% of those kills were bots. And the other real life players in the game were just running around in Titan. So all the people you were killing on foot were just bots. All right, so Dark Souls 2 takes the cake on that one. Dragon Age Inquisition. There is a reason why there has not been another Dragon Age game since Inquisition. It's because Inquisition, it didn't leave a mark. People just didn't like it. I didn't have fun in it. I played Origins all the way through, Dragon Age Origins. Inquisition, I could not do it. I put maybe 20 hours or 25, 30 hours. And then after that, I was like, this isn't fun. It's just not fun. Dark Souls 2, better than Inquisition. Next game, Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive. That game was very fun, very good, but it had some issues. One, a very short game. Very short. Two, it wasn't challenging. One of my rules is it has to be a challenging game. Dark Souls fits that rule. It has to be a 60 frames a second game. It's fine. It's not 60 frames. All these games aren't on the Xbox One, PS4. So at least be challenging. But Sunset Overdrive wasn't challenging. It wasn't long. The map was pretty small. But if you haven't played Sunset Overdrive, though, do yourself a favor and pick up that game. It's made by Insomniac before they went over to Sony and did PlayStation and did Spider-Man. Microsoft had Insomniac contracted to make Sunset Overdrive. It was amazing. Was it better than Dark Souls 2? No. Next game, Halo the Master Chief Collection. Oh boy. Oh boy. What can I say about Halo the Master Chief Collection? Halo the Master Chief Collection brings me to tears every time I think about it. That's the reason I have Twitter. I had Twitter so I could follow the updates minute by minute of Halo the Master Chief Collection. Maybe this is the tweet that says they fixed everything. Maybe this is it. And it was never it. So that game was broken on launch. Couldn't really do campaign. I mean, I did. But the campaign, the achievements didn't work really. So you wouldn't get achievements. And that was a big no-no for me. It's campaign. The multiplayer did not work at all. Like, at all. Like, at all. Like, you couldn't play it at all. It took years to fix, and then by 2017, when the One X came out, is when they were really starting to get it together because the One X was able to handle it better. So it was better than Halo MCC. Next, we have, this is a big one, guys, GTA 5. The next gen version, the PS4, Xbox One version. All right, so it's a little bit graphically better than the 360 version, but it's still 30 frames. Loading in the maps in multiplayer still took 4 hours each time. So I got that game in 2015 and then never touched it and maybe traded it back into GameStop because you couldn't play it. Like, just loading into the multiplayer took forever. And then even in the multiplayer, it was just laggy. Like, the cars driving at 100 miles an hour, taking a turn, you'd see them like in one spot and then frozen and then 10 yards away and then 10 yards behind. And it's like, oh, they can't even get the cars where they're at right. This game, there's no point playing this game. So, yeah, not playing that game. And the last one I'll talk about that came out in 2014, can you guess? I'll give you 5 seconds. It starts with a D. I'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you guess it? Destiny, the first Destiny. You got it right. I'm very proud of you. The very first Destiny game. Oh boy, that's up there with the Master Chief Collection of pure disappointment. Destiny 1, I was so excited for. But after playing it and realizing there is no story, the main character is just a customized shell. Just like Sunset Overdrive, the character you have, is just a customized shell of nothing, even though it's like that in the Dark Souls series. No story. Everything's copied from Halo because it's Bungie who made it. The Cabal are like the brutes. Well, the Cabal are like the brutes. That's all I'll compare it to Halo. But the story, no story. The multiplayer, they had like 4v4, 6v6. The 4v4 was boring. The 6v6, they had to take out some maps because everyone was able to start with their sniper, because you can go into the game with what weapons you have from the campaign. And everyone was just sniping on the best maps they had, like the moon map, one of the best maps. Everyone's just sniping, so they took it out. That's unbalanced and should have never happened. So, yeah, multiplayer wasn't special. Campaign wasn't special. They were all bullet sponges. You had stupid things like the witch sorcerer on the moon, and it's just so stupid. The game was just so bad. Like Destiny 1. And then you had what are the robots you fight at the end on Venus? Such a bad enemy type. They all act the same. They're just bullet sponges. There's nothing, you interact with them the same way. The gameplay loop is the same for each enemy, which is very, very strange coming from Bungie, where the Covenant, the Jackals were different because they had shields. The Grunts you could just headshot. The jackals, you had to shoot the little opening in their shields. The elites had shields. The hunters were like tanks, and you had to maybe get behind them and melee them in the back. And then they make Destiny where the enemy types are just all the same. Destiny, Dark Souls 2 beats that out as well. All right, that is all the games I have right now for 2014 that Dark Souls 2 is better than. There's really not even the closest one I would say is Sunset Overdrive, but it's still better than Sunset Overdrive. Is this a good Dark Souls game though? I don't think it's that good of a Dark Souls game. This game wasn't made by Miyazaki. It was made by the B team because Miyazaki and his team were working on Bloodborne. It reaches what it needed to do, and that's all I'll say. I don't think it was a good game. This was my first Dark Souls game. My first game I played was Demon Souls, but it was at a friend's house when I was in 9th grade, freshman in high school, and I played it for 5 minutes and that was it. It was hard. I died and then I stopped playing. But being my first game that I fully played through, this was it, and this was very magical. It was a magical experience for me. But then I played Dark Souls 1, 3, Bloodborne, and I realized, oh, this game, yeah, it's not that good. The maps kind of suck. The map layouts don't make sense. Like, you'll go up, but then end up in an underground city with lava. They don't make sense. The bosses, just a big thing are the bosses. Now, the bosses suck. I still had enough fun in this game to get Scholar of the First Sin a year later. That's only because I didn't have a PlayStation to get Bloodborne, because I got an Xbox to play Halo MCC, and well, we all know how that turned out. So, the bosses in this game, my first ever boss was my first ever Dark Souls boss was a recycled Dark Souls 1 boss by the name of Ornstein. I believe there's Smo and Ornstein. I think Ornstein is the tall one with the spear, not the fat one. It could be Smo. I might be mixing it up. I forget. I'm just gonna go with Ornstein. Now, I thought it was a cool boss fight. I was in that one of the first areas. You can go into the forest, or you can go into the city, the sunken city. Although the sunken city might be the lava place, I forget. The city where there's water still, and you're just walking on the platforms that are above the water, and you go into a castle, and that's where he is. And then the other area boss there is the Dragon Slayer, which I'll get into in a second. But I thought that was a cool boss fight. You enter, he attacks you right away, just charges you with a spear, and that was a great boss fight for me. And then you realize it's just recycled from Dark Souls 1. The Dragon Slayer boss fight, later on, he's at King Vendrick's castle, and there's two of them, and one's just throwing a spear at you in a small room. That was annoying. There's a lot of bosses where you just drift to the right with your shield up, and you just roll to the right, and then you hit him in the back. Like King Vendrick was a joke of a boss fight. The dragon boss at the end, just the dragon that you're on the big platform, and it'll just go up and shoot down a fireball at the ground and kill you instantly. I never beat him, and I tried many times and looked at many tutorial videos, and it was just such a stupid boss. Very stupid boss. There are a lot of bosses where it's in a small room. A lot of bosses where you're in a small room, and a few of them are a couple bosses, 2 or 3 in a small room. Very annoying. The DLC, like for example, they had some good bosses like Fume Knight, but I think that same DLC with the Fume Knight, where you're going through the castle with the fiery samurais and stuff, getting to that top boss was such a stretch. Like, it was a long way that there wasn't a bonfire near it. I didn't beat him. I couldn't get to him because it was so much to get through. And by the time you got to him, you were done with your Estus flasks. It's just, that was bad. There was a lot of bad things about this game. It did have dual wielding. I did like how there were a lot of areas to go to, but that's in a lot of Dark Souls games. Like in the starting area, Majula, you can go to the sunken city and you get like a lightning spell. Or you can go to the forest and get, that area had a special thing you could get. Or the well that's there, the well where the Rat King is. you can, or that well led to, I think, that underground, the well led to the underground area that's kind of like Blight Town, but you needed a ring to slow your fall damage. So you're like, okay, cool, I gotta find a ring first to get there. And that was magical too. But yeah, so guys, the point of this video, Dark Souls 2, it was okay, but still in 2014, being okay at the time was still far better than any other game of that year. So yeah, Dark 2014 wasn't that a year after the new consoles, still the games just weren't hitting yet. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Dark Souls 2. Did you think it was the best game of 2014? Do you think it's a good Dark Souls game? Are you in agreement with those other videos where everyone's like, Dark Souls 2 is criminally underrated, it's the best game ever made? Comment that down below, all right? I'll see you guys in the next video.